We're back. You're listening to Art Business Mentor, the radio show. I'm your host, Gary Crook. I'm your Art Business Mentor. If you're returning, what we're talking about today is we're talking about how artists need to shop people to get ahead in their arts career. And what that means is basically we're back to my spectacle, influencing the spectacle tirades here. And what I tried to argue very quickly in the beginning was that the spectacle is actually influenced by small clusters of people. And the best way to think of this is that, it would be like looking into like a sock, okay? And in that sock you dump in like, oh my gosh, like 3,000, 3,500, 30,000, whatever, like BBs. Okay, little BBs, a little red line BB. Hey, you're going to shoot your eye out, kid. This thing. Just imagine you look down into a sock, you fill, and the sock is your universe. And you grab a box of BBs, basically, and you dump, say, 30,000 BBs into this sock, okay, or this bag. And all of a sudden, you look down, and they're perfectly round little objects. They're all very individualistic. But if you were able to do that, hold the BBs up and just, hang it from a rafter and stand back and look at it, you would see this huge blob inside this sock. Okay, that's the best way to describe what the spectacle is in your individual life. That sock, if you will, is your individual universe. And within, looking in the sock, you see all these perfectly round little individual BBs. Well, think of these little individual BBs as clusters of people. Okay, of people of influence is a better way of going about that. So what you have to do is kind of bounce around on the BBs is the best way to describe that. So that's what I was trying to describe in the beginning, is this essentially is how the spectacle is set up. Okay, and instead of artists trying to just shotgun their influence and try to please everybody, the entire bag, in other words, you're standing away from the bag and you're saying, hey, look at me, I'm the artist, and the bag's like completely enclosed in its own spectacle, they're not going to notice you. And so what you have to do is start to influence from the inside of the BB bag, okay? I love this metaphor. This is great. All right, so anyway, let's get to the second part. So that's the problem. The second part is, how does the problem affect the artist adversely? Well, their concentration, obviously, on completely the wrong base elements in order to change or influence their opinion, or not their opinions of themselves or their artwork. And an influence opinion is how the artist will ultimately create value and, of course, money, if that's how you're deeming value, freedom, whatever you want to call it, for their individual arts career. The artist needs to get much more creative here, guys. Okay, this is your strong suit. Okay, we need to get more creative about how you're influencing your own spectacle. And the artist needs to shop the right people. So that's how you're doing it. Is you need to shop people, if you will, that share your same opinions in order to not waste your time. Talk a lot about time on this radio show, guys. It's all about time, brother. On others that will not get them ahead in their individual arts career. So what you basically have to do is you have to have a very dogged determination about where you want your life and your arts to go. And I spoke about this, seems like a million radio shows back, when I discussed the artist blueprint, okay? And if you haven't heard that radio show, go to artbusinessmentor.com. On the left is the radio show, and there it's tabbed out by date. I can't tell you the date right now, but it even says something like art career blueprint. And click the tab and re-listen to it. But basically, the problem here is time, okay? So you need to be making the very best use of your time. And you need to understand as well that, going back to the BB's metaphor, is that these are clusters of influential people. Now, influential is kind of the word up in the air here, because obviously someone who's influential to you is not going to necessarily be influential to me, and vice versa. So you need to decide, A, who is influential to you, and B, the groups. Then kind of within that group, you kind of target individuals that kind of share your same funky groove, if you will, that, you guys can sit and talk for hours, and it's like, what happened to the time? These are people that you want to seek out. And they're already a part of this cluster. They're already their own BB in the bag, so you need to find a way to essentially befriend these BBs And I love this. BB. So anyway, you find a way to influence these, and the best way to do that is obviously just be yourself. Because obviously, if you're attracted to their way of thinking or their artwork or both for that matter, then there's a very good chance that they're going to be similarly attracted back to what you do. So in other words, it shouldn't be that difficult. Really good example of the way I personally have utilized this, and this actually goes a little bit outside of the art genre. But anyway, back when I was in college at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque, there was a particular instructor there. I won't get into his name. I'm sure he's still there because he had been there forever. He will be there forever. Very radical, just off-the-wall guy. And when I was a freshman there, coming in out of, the quasi-conservative high school, he was one, if not the first class, that, of my first freshman career, blah, 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 just by... I don't know. Anyway, he was one of the first people that I actually went to, the first class I actually attended in college. Scared to death, sitting in there with like 300 people, and it was a history class. And the guy came up there and, just started belting out. He came up there dressed in a costume, and it was like I said, it was a history class. I forget which. It was like an ancient history class, dressed in a kind of a period type costume. And proceeded to tell us that we're nothing but Social Security numbers to this guy. I mean, he just laid it out. It's like, dude, you can come to this class, you can not come to this class, I don't care. And basically just laid it out, and I'm thinking, finally, I'm in a place where I can kind of be myself and create my own anonymity and not have some teacher or principal ride my butt all the time. So anyway, it was you had to be there. But anyway, the point of the reason I'm trying to tell you this story is I ended up taking like 7 classes from this guy. I essentially took his entire college tenure job curriculum. And the reason I did that is because I had taken, and of course the classes vary wildly from, it was history, but the subject was always very different. And I took all of his classes because there came a point where he just lectured, and I like that. I didn't have to read a lot of books. College, you're pressed for time. Number 2, his tests were all essay tests, and some people just groan and moan at that. But the beauty of that is once I understood how this man thought, and we were very similar in our ways of thinking, then effectively I could answer his questions perfectly. And it didn't matter what the class was because he was always kind of harping on the same points, and points that I was very passionate about. So it's like we just clicked naturally, even though I never got to quote-unquote know him. We clicked very naturally because we thought very similar. So consequently, I breezed through these classes, man. I burned like 6 credit hours times 3 is 6 and 3 is 18 credit hours of just kind of being myself. And that's a good example of shopping people to get ahead because I had plenty of other classes that I had to take that weren't quite so flexible, and I didn't get along with these people at all. So I had to devote a lot more time to them. This guy and his classes, I didn't have to devote that kind of time. It was very natural. And I did very well in the classes, and I truly enjoyed my time there. So that's a good example of shopping people, especially in a college environment, to get the most out of my money. All right, we're headed out to a commercial. You're listening to Art Business Mentor, the radio show on Talk Radio 1080 WKJK.
Looking for a children's fundraiser outside of chocolate bars and cookie dough? Then try The Giggles Program's selection of shea butter bath and body products. Their programs are designed to help raise money within your community with no out-of-pocket expenses to you. They are dedicated to making your fundraiser a smashing success. So check out thegigglesprogram.com or call 231-1079. That's 231-1079.